people visit San Juan, Puerto Rico, they always notice the house colors first. But there's actually a historical reason these houses look like this, and most people don't know it. Long before Europeans arrived in 1493, Puerto Rico had already been home to thousands of years of indigenous history. The island was settled in waves by different peoples from northern South America beginning 2,000 to 4,000 years ago, with the Ortoiroid culture from the Orinoco Valley. That's a hard name. They were later followed by the Saladoid, an Arawak-speaking people who brought agriculture and pottery to the Caribbean, and eventually by the Taino, whose culture became dominant across the region by the time the Europeans reached the island. It's important to remember that these are not the names the indigenous people of Puerto Rico call themselves, but rather the names historians, scholars, and archaeologists have given them. Archaeological evidence shows that this area was already inhabited before Spanish colonization. The remains of a small indigenous fishing village were discovered in current-day Puerta de Tierra between Castillo San Felipe del Morro and Parque Luis Muñoz Marín, near where the Museo de la Guardia Nacional de Puerto Rico stands today. Many other archaeological sites in the region were destroyed or were lost during centuries of colonial development. When the Spanish arrived on November 19, 1493, the area around present-day San Juan marked the boundary between two Taino tribal regions, or Yucayeques. In 1508, Juan Ponce de Leon founded the first Spanish settlement at Capara as Spain began asserting colonial control over the island, marking the beginning of 400 years of Spanish colonial rule. Just a year later, the settlement was moved to a nearby harbor known as Puerto Rico, Spanish for rich port. From this strategic port, the city that would become Old San Juan was formally established in 1521. Today, Old San Juan is known for its blend of Spanish colonial, Baroque, European Renaissance, and even Gothic architectural influences, and rows of colorful homes built from brick and mortar that line the narrow streets and overlook the Atlantic. Old San Juan is famous for these colors, but they weren't originally chosen to create the postcard perfect streets people recognize today. When many of these homes were first built during the 16th and 17th centuries, their design was shaped less by aesthetics and more by the realities of living in the Caribbean. Puerto Rico's tropical climate meant builders had to think carefully about heat, humidity, and the strength of the coastal winds. Thick masonry walls made from stone, brick, sometimes imported from Spain as ballasts in ships, and lime mortar helped keep interiors cooler, while lime-based washes and paints protected the outdoor surfaces from moisture and intense sun. These mineral pigments produced the corals, yellows, turquoises, and greens that gradually became a defining feature of the streets of San Juan. Nowadays, Puerto Rican homes are mostly built of concrete and cinder blocks to better withstand the hurricanes. Some of the oldest and most well-preserved homes in San Juan include La Casa Blanca, built in 1521 for Juan Ponce de Leon, La Fortaleza, or the Governor's Mansion, built between 1533 and 1540, and not a home but a fascinating place and the oldest church on U.S. soil, the San Juan Bautista Cathedral, which was built in 1521. As San Juan aged, many of its historic homes began to deteriorate. By the mid-1900s, preservationists were concerned that the architectural character of Old San Juan might slowly disappear. What many people don't realize is that a lot of these homes were once painted a simple white. To help reverse that decline, the Institute of Puerto Rican Culture began encouraging homeowners to restore their facades and repaint them in vibrant tropical tones. The goal wasn't just preservation, it was also to bring life back to the historic district and draw visitors to a place that held centuries of history. The colorful facades people recognize today are largely a 20th century effort, meant to preserve the historic district while also celebrating the warmth and spirit of Caribbean culture. Today, many homes in San Juan are carefully maintained through preservation guidelines. Because Old San Juan is one of the oldest European-built cities in the Americas, restoration projects must follow regulations designed to protect the historic character of the area. Regulations often require neighboring buildings to be painted in different shades, creating the patchwork of lavender, peach, terracotta, blues, and yellows that give the streets their distinctive kaleidoscope effect. Maintaining these vibrant facades ensures that the architectural history of San Juan remains visible, not only to the people who live here, but to the millions of visitors who walk these streets every year. And as I finish this painting, it's a reminder that the colors people notice first aren't just decoration. They're the result of centuries of history, preservation, and cultural identity layered onto the walls of the city. What began as practical architecture and later became a preservation effort has ultimately turned into one of Puerto Rico's most recognizable features. And for me, recreating these homes on canvas is a small way of holding on to that history and the color of a place that continues to shape how people see Puerto Rico.